Service Learning Final Report by Keaton Mack. Any non-stated source is from our Intercultural Communications in Your Life textbook. I volunteered for the Afro-American Development Association, or AADA. The AADA is a local nonprofit and volunteer-based organization from Moorhead, Minnesota that helps new Americans in the Fargo-Moorhead area. These people are usually in a lot of hardship and confusion, so any amount of help goes a long way. A link to their website is below and is in the video description. They provide various support programs, including after-school services, help with housing, and more. If you too would like to volunteer for the AADA, the second link is for you. I personally volunteered for the English language learning classes. These classes are a tutor-structured meeting led by a volunteer to teach an understanding of the English language to new Americans, whom I found to be mainly older Somali or Congolese immigrants in this situation. Every weekend I would come for around 2 hours on a Saturday and or Sunday to donate my time to helping these people. We had lesson books we went through that corresponded to different levels of English proficiency. There were many obstacles for me when helping new Americans learn English with the AADA, as well as learning about these people's cultures for my project. The most apparent was also the purpose of my volunteering: language barriers. They spoke broken English, and I knew none of their native tongue. This problem was approached in a couple of ways. The first was understanding the turn-taking structure, which improved our efficiency. The pattern was essentially this: I would read aloud, then they would repeat what I said, and afterwards they would answer accordingly. I would employ turn repair, or the return of this explained sequence, whenever distractions or questions occurred. The more impactful form of communication skill from this class was nonverbal communication, or the ways we communicate without the use of words, according to Ivy and Wall, on page 98 in Nonverbal Communications for a Lifetime. Nonverbal communication is very broad and covers a lot of different ideas. The most applicable subject here was kinesics, as this is the study that includes body movements, postures, and gestures, according to our Intercultural Communications in Your Life textbook on page 140. Gestures were by far the most common and best way for me to communicate to these new Americans outside of direct translation, especially for concepts like emotions and actions, as gestures such as facial expressions are prevalent in both cultures. The environment was also important, including the learning setting and surrounding objects, which gave good backdrops or opportunities to explain, as well as proxemics to communicate power, occupation, and more. The school-like structure of English learning lessons did lead to difficulty furthering my knowledge about my students' culture, but I managed to learn about them anyway and grew to appreciate their goals and struggles. Their culture is focused on their roots, which is their home country of Africa and typically their Muslim religion, as well as their current situation in America, being new immigrants. I was told they moved here for the economic and land opportunities available, such as wanting to own a home or have a better job to support a full family, as well as benefits like strong healthcare system, as many of them are elderly. Their general consensus seemed to be the only things from Africa they preferred over the US was the weather and food. Speaking of food, here's some food from a potluck we had, with my favorite being the sambusa on the left. To my surprise, much of what I tried was fried foods, being garden vegetables or meat. Most of it was halal, in accordance with their religion. One man, Yusuf, told me that American food has changed African food, but not the other way around. Something to note is that only women cook in their culture. Men at best at this potluck brought tea. Perhaps a strong reason for these new Americans' possibly harsh view of Africa is that many of these immigrants come from places of turmoil, such as Somalia, where the collapse of their government and education system has been horribly taxing on its people, according to Abdi in the Journal of Comparative Education on page 327. These people then find themselves in another difficult but better socioeconomic status here in America, where financial hardship is commonplace for immigrants, according to Darboux in the Journal of Developing Societies on page 462. But these new Americans are strong, but they lack in economic and cultural capital due to their poor immigrant status. They make up for in their social capital or networking. These Americans may not have a lot of friends in high places, so to speak, but they are tight-knit and help each other. I've been told there is help available from everything to job applications to fixing your roof. They often have to be rich in emotional resources to have even made it here. Also, they typically have adequate mental or physical resources to allow them to overcome their challenges in America and acquire a job. Especially with help from various support systems present in the USA, like the AADA I volunteer for, Medicare, or charities. These new Americans that I taught English to for the AADA have led me to personally grow. I at first ashamedly thought somewhat poorly of these people. I had heard bad things from accomplices about their work ethic, etc. before. This all fits in accordance to the communication theory of identity, which is where individuals make assumptions based on their backgrounds, possibly leading to misunderstandings, according to Hecht in the Communications Monographs Journal on page 77. However, following Bennett's ethno-relativism model that we studied in this intercultural communications class, I became more open-minded to their culture. I better understand their situation, why they act the way they do, and I greatly appreciate the struggles they overcame. I encourage all who watch this video to also volunteer for the Afro-American Development Society if they can. Remember, link below, and experience what I did. Here are my references.